Welcome to Conversations with Garmamie. This is episode 31. Our guest is Sandy Pemrboke.
Find things that I'm passionate about, and ABG, always be giving. Hashtag ABG, hashtag always be giving. And you saw the rant I did. It comes from that terrible movie, or terrible but great and like iconic sales movie, Glengarry Glen Ross. Always be closing. Boom! Coffee's for closers! And he goes on like that, and he's just berating these people, these lifetime salesmen, and just making them feel like garbage. Old school scare tactics to make them do their jobs and scare them. And do you go home? How do you have sex with your wife when you can't even get it up because you're so impotent in everything you do in your life? You watch your neighbor bringing your wife, and he just goes on. He's just ranting and just everything. Make more money. Produce. Make more money for me. It's just this horrible. And I watched that, and I'm sitting up there late one night and doing some stuff, and I'm doing that video. I'm trying to get it out, and and it was my first video. I'm like, I got to start doing these authentic, sort of get out there, talk to people, not just typing all the time. And it came to me. I'm like, screw this. Always be closing stuff. Always be giving. It's the golden rule. We know. If you give, you get.
He's a businessman, an entrepreneur, a marketer, and a social media connoisseur. And Professor Pembroke is also a two-time world heavyweight kickboxing champion.
What's that one? Train spotting. Yes. Choose your life. Choose your television. Choose your, that speech is just amazing. Like, look at this stuff, people. Don't just post it. Change your own life. You want to do something, do it. I'm 43 years old and I'm about to win another fucking world title in kickboxing. My parents hate it. They don't want to hear anything about it. My family's not supportive of it. My girlfriend is variably supportive of it. I don't give a shit. I want it. And I'm going to do it.
Hashtag ABG. What is that? What does it mean to you?
Always be giving. I grew up as a business guy. My first stint out of college was with what's now Exxon. I guess in Canada it was Imperial Oil. I was good enough. Sorry for the throat clears. I was good enough to be one of the few people that was recruited out of my undergrad program. It was mostly, big Fortune 500 companies or better. And the best money and the biggest dollar and the coolest package was from them and from Shell Oil. And I was that guy back then. I was going to be the CEO of some company and take over the world. So I took the best job, best money, had a company car, blah, blah, blah. I didn't last a year. Hated it. Soul destroying. And then I started moving into, from there I had to move into things that in the beginning at least did no harm. So I kind of went back to consulting. We could go into that later if you want. But I ended up in that .com blip as a 27-year-old, way underqualified for my position of marketing manager, launching a startup in Canada, which was digital commerce at the time. And that was the first step kind of after leaving Exxon and Imperial Oil. And the next step was going back to college and teaching university with a scholarship at the University of South Australia. So I got a scholarship to do my PhD and teach. And then, of course, anytime you're attached to a university, your consulting career skyrockets because you have instant legitimacy, Mr. Professor, with some people. Anyway, some of the blue-collar, bootstrap themselves way up. I've got a great story about that. And Nick Jones and Gentech, who never wanted to hire me because, well, Sandy, I did this with no education, and now I own a multinational company. Don't ever bring your professorial bullshit into my office and tell me how to do my stuff. And he was a good friend, but we can go back to that another time. So
when you say working with Exxon was soul destroying, can you elaborate what you mean by that? I mean, I think I can imagine. I think people can imagine, but elaborate as to why it was soul destroying to you.
Well, and I appreciate that you're just going to let me talk, Garmamie, because these are just everything's about connections and moving forward in my life. And some people have described me as having attention deficit disorder, and I had a great coach, John McMahon, who I think we sort of met through, who has a course. Teaches it's athletic mind works and performance mind works. It's sort of personal development peak. It's definitely peak performance stuff for businesses and or athletes. Or he also got a little cool module for parents of athletes. How to be supportive for the kid and not a terrible soccer mom or hockey dad. Anyway, just recenter me on the question, Garmamie. You're getting me strolling through nostalgia.
No worries. Soul destroying.
Yeah. So when I quit high school. 8 times before I went to do my PhD.
8 times.
8 times. I've been to 8 high schools here in Ottawa. Do you want me to try and name them?
Sure.
St. Matthew's Storefront, which was a retail store location in Place d'Orleans, and we were the first offsite in a retail location. We were like fishbowl sort of thing. So there's Ottawa Citizen papers and stuff. I know you've done research. You may or may not have found some of this stuff. We're talking early 90s. Anyway, so did that, and I had left high school because working at McDonald's was dramatically more stimulating than high school for me. And I just, it was amazing. And I love the people and the teamwork. We were in a nice area in Orleans. It was the Cadillac store in Canada at that time. I remember being I helped sell to Makba, helped them, the Russian film crew was over there filming to, sort of the pitch back to their investors or whatever back then. But I got to teach them how to do Big Macs, make Big Mac buns on that film way back when, which was super fun before the first Makba opened. Anyway, long story short, as I grew through the ranks at McDonald's and became a manager and that sort of stuff, I realized that people were the major piece of every puzzle, whether it was your relationship, your business, your family, that sort of stuff. And there was a guy who I haven't found yet on social media. His name was Chris Jack. And I got some friends of mine got transferred to Vanier McDonald's, which was the absolute opposite of Orleans McDonald's, where we were high school kids working there for a little extra money to make some drinking money to go out and do stupid stuff on the weekends. Transplant to Vanier. We called it Van Dam, with apologies or not. It took me a really long time. The culture there was so vastly different because the kids working there that I was working side by side with, there were some gems and some people that just shone and like greatly outshone some of the gems I worked with that in McDonald's Orleans. But these kids were there to make money to pay the rent, to help the family out. And it took me a little while to realize that. And when I realized it, I was blown away. I was weirded out. And then I was honored and touched to be able to work with these people because I grew up as a, middle class and then probably towards the end upper middle class kid. And when we were young, we were poor. Mom and dad were from Nova Scotia and that sort of stuff. Mom from a small coal mining town, Glace Bay, Nova Scotia, and dad from Antigonish, Nova Scotia, where I did my undergrad at St. Francis Xavier University. And to bring this all back in turn, Chris Jack was my fire and forget guy. If I need the back room cleaning up because, head office would come by for an inspection, or the trash compactor cleaned up and the grease and bugs and this was outside, whatever's out there. We had trash compactors back there, and one side was trash and one side we dumped the grease into, which we would then sell to makeup companies, and they would repurpose this.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I worked at McDonald's back in the day.
Hey, really? Where did you? Was it in town or somewhere else?
It was over at Saint Laurent by the Museum of Science.
Yeah, absolutely. That was that was sort of like mid-ground. Not as bad as Vanier, but there were still some kids there working for drinking money and some kids working to pay the rent. Agreed?
Right, yeah,
Which one were you? Are you going to tell me?
I think I was working, maybe not rent money, but working for... I was probably definitely on that side of it.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Got it. So not a trust fund baby, Garmamie?
Oh, God, no.
Okay, neither one of us here at the table. Good. So long story short, I realized... that I was abusing this kid. Because if I needed a job done, I gave it to him. He didn't say shit. Swearing on this podcast or no?
Of course.
Okay. So, and with apologies, I swear. Sometimes it's the best words. So, for emphasis. And this kid would do everything. And I realized one day I was beating this kid like a rented mule or a redheaded stepchild. Like he worked so much harder. He worked harder than 10 people. Because I knew if I gave him a job, it was done, I'd walk away. And I finally, what can I do for you, Chris? And it was limited we could do with giving somebody a raise, but I got him as much, the 15 cents or the 25 cents on his 1 year annual performance. Like they're so militaristic and so regimented with their systems, right? I mean, you work there, you've got checklists on how to do the Big Mac buns or how to cook the whatever. And you remember all that stuff?
Yes.
Am I giving you nightmares, Garmamie, to bring you back?
You know what's funny? McDonald's is the first and only ever job I was fired from.
Oh, wow.
I've worked a million other places doing all sorts of stuff. But anyways, please continue.
No, good. Well, I'm going to interview for the next podcast, okay? Can we do that?
Sure.
Okay. Well, we have that on tape, okay, folks? My lawyer can send us a contract, okay? So, long story short, what I got out of Chris Jack was he wanted to work up front, and he was this introverted, sort of just keeping it, but he's a good-looking kid. He looked exactly like, who's that famous country and western singer, but he kind of crossover with the big lips. I think he married Julia Roberts for a while. He's like, or more of like a, I gotta Google it and it's gonna kill me now. Like real, like smoky kind of Frank Sinatra voice, but he's good looking, fit. He was in like, he looked like the guy from Wings. Oh, jeez. I can't remember. Well, we'll come back to it. Looked like that guy. And we got him up front, and he came out of his shell. He's chatting the people up, and I think he spoke French too. I can't remember, but he did it badly. And he starts singing on the drive-through headset in this like deep, deep baritone sort of like country and western sort of. Anyway, he was amazing. So like, all I had to do with this kid to make him happy was cross-training from the cooking in the back with me and flipping the burgers, doing all the grunt work, and brought him up to the front of the house, and then everything worked. He understood the plight of the people in the back, so he helped. He was the bridge, and I watched management miraculous see like just this epiphany. I'm like, oh my god, if I can cross-train a bunch of people from the front of the house to the back of the house, they all understand each other. Now teamwork really happens. It's not just the team in the back meeting the deadlines of the front of the house. And this works for any restaurant, freaking, whether it's servers or cocktails, nightclubs, cigar bar, who cares, right? So you bring these people and you cross-train them, and I figured out, and then I started getting really into hands on the street, rubber hits the pavement, pedagogical, academic exploration, tactically doing that at McDonald's with people. I was making people happy. They worked harder. My job got easier, and I wanted to come to work more often, and so did they. And these were kids that were paying the rent of their parents working at McDonald's, Garmamie. You and I were bettering our lives, having fun, growing, making experiences. These kids were paying the rent, and I made them happier by freaking cross-training them. They became better employees. They worked harder. The store grew. It was amazing. And it wasn't just all me. There was amazing people around me then. Michael Shazinski. I've recently reconnected with, what is his name? Thomas Guy was like a business guru back then. I remember we'd sometimes go for a transfer between stores. We're out of ice cream cones, so we'd drive from Montreal Road back to Orleans to get some stuff, and he would point out signage and all this kind of stuff. And I think he's at Thomas Guy on Twitter, but anyway, he's a neat guy, and his dad just passed away this week. So, shout out to Thomas Guy, and who was a huge business mentor back then, and opened my eyes to, okay, McDonald's is just a training ground, and I met a bunch of great people, and what's next? So I went to college. I said, screw this, time to get a checkout. I've got the McDonald's experience. I don't want to go corporate and, go run the whole store and then run the area. No, let's do this. Let's go do management in a real area in a real way. So I went to college with maybe this always be giving, this hashtag ABG or hashtag always be giving in the back of the mind. Got to college, had some amazing experiences, got to work hands-on. Hey, anybody that wants to grade an undergraduate experience, St. Francis Xavier at STFX, East Coast, Antigonish, it's everything you want to be. It's amazing, amazing campus. It's that red brick, kind of, I call it the Harvard of Canada, and I'm not the only one. It was McLean's number one primarily undergraduate experience for like 10 years in a row or something, or almost. Anyway, go there. Great. Got to interface with the professors and start work on projects. Got to do a project for a local bar, Piper's Pub, which is famous. Did that. Got to do some charity work for Summer Street Industries in New Glasgow, and they do vocational training for mentally challenged adults. And if I have the wrong words, and I apologize to that community, I'm a marketer. I don't work for you right now, so if you bring me onto Twitter, I'll understand that they are whatever. But they were great people, and they had handicaps or emotional things or mental things that they couldn't quite. And they did everything. They did word working. They made picnic tables. We made, and then I used that company to do another project, a small business project, and we manufactured those little hockey sticks, like the little tiny ones that you play. We used to call it kneesies in the basement. Anyway, so got to work with all these great companies, and they were live consulting projects with or without the professors, with or without the teams, that sort of stuff. And then I took I want to be the CEO of the world. F you, I'm going to run Exxon, or at that time it was Imperial Oil, and they got bought out by Exxon while I was there. And that's what I was going to do. And I got there and realized these people were terrible people. They didn't give a shit. It was just about money. There were still some good people in these positions, sure. But the way they act corporately and the way they spoke to each other and the way they treated each other, it was just fucking crabs in a bucket, man. Just everyone just fucking trying to cut each other's lunch and fucking go to the top. And it wasn't all their fault. It was an oil price just taking a dive, like might happen now again. If you're working in an oil company right now, I feel for you. Props to all my friends up in Edmonton and, further up north in the cold, pulling that stuff out of the ground. Anyway, these sons of bitches, Imperial Oil had just taken a third of their head office or their as far as I remember, about a third of their freaking head office staff and just axed them. So I come in, swinging dick, young gun, graduate from university, all young, dumb, full of cum and piss and vinegar, and I'm going to help these guys and change the world, maybe, or just make a lot of money and be great at this. Ken Charter saved my life. He did a master's program, and she's still there, but he owns a bunch of pizza. What's the pizza place where it's just walk in and pick it up? Caesar's. He owns a bunch of Caesar pizzas around the Maritimes now, and him and his lovely wife Tara Charters, Ken Charters, great people. Anyway, we used to commute every day for the year from. And anybody listening in the GTA, I lived in the beaches or the upper beaches, just on the wrong side of Kingston Road. And we used to go from there up to the DVP and across the 401 every day at rush hour back and forth. So we actually went through both rush hour of the worst two veins in the GTA. And we did a lot of bonding and learning and talking and that sort of stuff. And he kept me, on the page. I mean, it was soul destroying. My shortest work week was 65 hours a week plus a crazy commute that was 39 minutes door to door at 10 o'clock at night most of the time, and sometimes it was 4 hours because I was there the year the snowstorm and the army got called in my
the ice storm.
The ice storm. Well, it wasn't the ice storm. It was the snowstorm in Toronto where they called the military in to plow the roads. My road, we counted it, and I won lunch every day because Ken said, your road's going to be plowed tomorrow. Your road's going to be plowed tomorrow. And it was 14 days before a plow truck came down my road for the first time. We were like right in the beaches, like just to the right of or just east of downtown Toronto. Like we were a major thoroughfare. Anyway.
I want to segue, speaking of fuel.
Yes.
What fuels your work ethic? What's the main motivation? What fuels your work ethic?
You know what? It's passion in whatever direction I go. I'm so bad at doing stuff I don't want to do, like folding laundry or cleaning the house or doing I'm bad. My clients know I'm bad at billing them. Sometimes a month goes by I haven't billed them. I finally hired someone to start running that side of it for me. I don't like the paperwork. I don't like the No. I love the detail. I love the detail of crafting a message, of writing something on social media. Anybody that follows me at Sandy Pemrboke on Twitter, Sandy Beach Marketing on Facebook. Am I allowed to continue with this self-promotion? Thanks for the nod, Garmamie. Shoemakers Kids Have No Shoes. It should be at Sandy Pemrboke everywhere or at Sandy Beach Marketing, but I'm coming late to the game and I can't get all these things. So at Sandy Pemrboke on Twitter, Sandy Beach Marketing on Facebook. LinkedIn is my name, Sandy like the beach, Sandy, and Pembroke, or please pronounce it Pembroke, but it's Pembroke on LinkedIn and Instagram. Oh, I won the Instagram lottery at Marketing Consultant. So that's my at, and then it's just Sandy Beach Marketing as the name, but it's at Marketing Consultant. Anyway,
so you're mainly
passion.
I
love people. Remember way back when to the Chris Jack thing and the story of the guy at McDonald's where I cross-trained and brought him up front, and then all of a sudden the kid blossoms and he's singing frickin' country and blues songs at work every day and lifting the spirits of the entire organization, within at that one location.
Have you found this guy?
I haven't found him yet.
You got to hunt him down, man.
Chris Jack. I mean, you have a more white Anglo-Saxon, like John Smith and Chris Jack. They're fighting for the title, So no, I haven't found him. But hey, somebody find Chris Jack. Good-looking, white guy, straight features. He was real fit back then, tall, lean guy. He used to live in around Vanier and worked at Vanier McDonald's 1990, 91.
Wow.
Yeah, Find me that guy. Tweet at me at Sandy Pemrboke or whatever at Marketing Consultant on Instagram.
Second question I wanted to ask:
you
did, of course, passion. Yeah.
I find things that I'm passionate about, and ABG, always be giving. Hashtag ABG, hashtag always be giving. And you saw the rant I did. It comes from that terrible movie, terrible but great and iconic sales movie, Glenn Ross. Always be closing. Boom! Coffee's for closers! And he goes on like that, and he's just berating these people, these lifetime salesmen, and just making them feel like garbage, old school scare tactics to make them do their jobs and scare them. And do you go home? How do you have sex with your wife when you can't even get it up because you're so impotent in everything you do in your life? You watch your neighbor bringing your wife, and he just goes on, he's just ranting and just everything. Make more money, produce, make more money for me. It's just this horrible. And I watched that, and I'm sitting up there late one night and doing some stuff, and I'm doing that video, I'm trying to get it out, and and it was my first video. I'm like, I got to start doing these authentic, sort of get out there, talk to people, not just typing all the time. And it came to me. I'm like, screw this. Always be closing stuff. Always be giving. It's the golden rule. We know if you give, you get. You listen to anything from any millionaire, any billionaire, fucking follow Richard Branson, Tony Robbins, Seth Godin, any of these guys. And they're going to say, the more you give, the more you get. And I believe it because I've given a lot in my life and I've seen people around me and they say the nice guy finishes last. But no, we're going on the nice guy finishes you tour. That's where we're going. The nice guy finishes, cross out last, you. Because, are we announcing it?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, you give me the question. Give them the lead up.
Actually, before we go there.
Hey, you got me excited. I'm a marketer.
I wanted to know, what does work-life balance mean to you personally? What does that mean to you?
Okay, so before it meant nothing. I said, when I've got work, I don't balance. My balance is work. Let's do it. I bought a gym when I opened up my first store in Kamloops, BC, because I was working 20, 24 hours a day. I had a couch in the back of the store. I love projects. When I start the project, it's go, 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 go. All hands on deck, and we'll sleep when we're dead, and that had led to a lot of health issues throughout. And I've learned now that work-life balance is I can go, and we talked briefly before we set up this interview. I think there was a lot of sort of super busy and not sleeping and sleeping, I take any little insight from a direction. Was it Einstein that used to sleep 4 hours at a time, or do you remember who that was? Or one of these guys, they'd sleep 4 hours at a time and never have a full night's sleep, but sleep 4 hours at a time 2 or 3 times throughout the day, or have little naps. And I've always kind of worked better that way. So work-life balance is I don't need the sleep as long as the nutrition and I keep exercising. I can work really, really, really hard, but then I need screen time to turn off. So I've got 2 companies that work for me, so they monitor all my accounts now. In this new phase, I've hired a couple companies. And even before that, I would do everything I need to do, make sure I didn't launch any missiles out into social media land, meaning, say something cool and great and hopefully start a little fire of notifications back towards and to whatever I was saying. Don't do that, and then I can turn my phone off and spend a night or a couple of nights this weekend like I did with my girlfriend Dawn at Sandy Beach Marketing HQ, which we got to be up to. In the next 2 weeks, Garmamie, you got to come back, okay? And we're going to do this up there. I'm going to show you my rocky training haven in the woods. It's on a private lake. It's very secluded. We have neighbors and a great community. I was up there at the charity community curling tournament this weekend. That's what I flew in for. And it's just this amazing group of people, and they're all supportive. And until you're in a community like that in the middle of the woods where there's very, very few residents. It's cottage country, so there's very, very few residents during the year. And people run out of wood, they run out of heat, they run out of power. We get our cars. I rented a 4x4 this weekend, and I decided I got to buy one. So I decided I'd take this for a little rip around my roads. Of course, I think you saw I spent 10 hours in the ditch, and as soon as I got a hold of people, they came over and pulled me out, and I bought them dinner or whatever, and they won't even take money. You can't give them a bottle of wine. You can sometimes cook for them.
What's the formula? Not the formula, Sandy. What's your formula to personal and professional success?
So for me,
I know I'm asking you all these out of nowhere questions, but
Garmamie, come on. Hey, I went chasing after you, so I knew I was going to love this. And who doesn't love talking about themselves, right? So certainly the extroverted marketers. So passion. Just find something you like doing. And if you're working a soul-destroying government job here in Ottawa, come on, stop it. Or start doing something on the side. Contact me on one of my channels, at Sandy Pemrboke on Twitter. How many times do I got to say this? Will this be on the screen somewhere? I know it's an audio cast. At Sandy Pemrboke on Twitter, Sandy Beach Marketing HQ on Facebook, at Marketing Assault on Instagram, and Sandy Pemrboke on LinkedIn. Find one of those things. Ask me a question. If you've got even a little bit of a budget, either I'll do it for you, or I'll quarterback it, and I'll farm it out to one of the guys on my team. Let's get you started doing something, Please, 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 please don't ask me to sell your multi-level marketing stuff. I don't do it. I've been there. I've been to all the rallies. I've seen it before. Please lose my number. Forget all of these things. Please. I will help you build that business from a happy giving way, but typically it's not for me. Please do not ask me. Please, Garmamie, put a disclaimer on this podcast. If you're selling some sort of multi-level marketing, warm market, I looked at that stuff when I was at McDonald's when I was 16 years old, and I've looked at it for a long time. It's not for me. I can help you build the websites, help you build the Facebook stuff, but help you build your business cards, but I will not sell your stuff. Sorry, end rant. Back to your question, sir. So passion. Find a passion. Go do that passion. Start doing it small. Start doing it online. Start doing it somewhere. Sell it to your friends. Have a party. Have some people over. Take that passion and run. If you've got money, financing, crowdfunding stuff is great now. Hey, do all that kind of stuff. Call me. I love to talk about it. Don't call me if you don't have any intention of ever spending a dime with my company. I'm busy. I think as we get towards the end of this podcast, we'll realize I am busy. But if you have a mission and you have a plan and you even just have an idea and you've got a little bit of money to throw at, I will happily incubate your business. I will put the eyes and the prize and the dollars in your pocket. But do not bother me if you're just looking for a free-handed. I got a buddy I knew from high school, and he keeps calling me and like offering me, long time down the road, I'll give you a piece of this company that I don't even own if you just do stuff for me for free for me now. And I'm like, dude, I'm too busy to do stuff for free. Like, let's go for lunch. I'll buy you lunch, you buy me lunch, and we'll talk, and I'll give you an hour worth of free advice. You can go do what you want with it. But stop calling me if you're never going to use me. Seriously. Like, come on. So find your passion and run with it. And feast or famine. If you've got time, if you're loving and you're doing it, and you're up all night and it's keeping you awake, why do that? Why not do that? Don't rely on the security, and don't call me up and say, oh, Sandy, or make your comments on Facebook. Oh, nice life. I wish I had it. Go get it. Go get it. You want it? Go get it. Come on.
People make such comments.
People get stuck into stuff, right? High school, wife, kids. Get a bigger house, get a bigger car. Come on, man. I'm going to start sounding like Fight Club. I'm going to start sounding like, oh, man, that beginning, it's a terrible movie with all the drugs and stuff. I hate these drug movies with the, like, the heroin and what's that one? Trainspotting. Yes. Choose your life. Choose your television. Choose your, like that speech is just amazing. Like, look at this stuff. People don't just post it. Change your own life. You want to do something, do it. I'm 43 years old and I'm about to win another fucking world title in kickboxing. My parents hate it. They don't want to hear anything about it. My family's not supportive of it. My girlfriend is variably supportive of it. I don't give a shit. I want it. I want it, and I'm going to do it. And guess what? I'm surrounding myself with people who will do it. Dom Poisson, master CrossFitter out in the West End, I think he is. He'll come to you anywhere in Ottawa. That's my personal training. He's a personal trainer now. He's a movement specialist. He's amazing. He's like the Conor McGregor. He's all about, I see these people and they have, the Conor McGregor UFC guys. Google him if you're looking for entertainment. This guy, he's all about money and fame and fortune. He's got a silver tongue and he knows how to talk. Anyway, he says the movements of people in the UFC are basic and they're linear. They are. I mean, Muay Thai's been around for, thousands of years. And these movements are these movements. Wrestling has been around. The pedagogy of wrestling and learning in the United States is great. It's been there for a long time, and it's hard and it's amazing. You got Olympic athletes that are good at it from Russia, all over the world. But there's movement, and move like an animal, and move like some of these guys. Conor McGregor's a great guy. Carlos Condit is a great guy. And they're both, I think Carlos Condit did a great podcast at the JRE, the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. And if you watch the Carlos Condit with Joe Rogan, and then he's got some movement specialist who's like really awesome. He's like, sort of like, he's a French guy, like French guy with this Southern California sort of hippy-dippy sort of thing, and he's teaching us to get back to nature and be animals, go hang from trees and run and jump and play. And so I've got a guy doing that. I've got two companies, First Dibs Multimedia, and he has an Anish company, so a second company, First Dibs UK. You can find them all over Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, LinkedIn. First Dibs Multimedia, Wayne Peters. I hired him. We did a project with a former UFC guy for one of his fights to promotion. Oh, yeah, I'm doing some fighter management now, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So, I mean, it's obviously a natural fit, right? So I've got the business side. I'm not as good as a fighter as some of these guys out there. I'm not doing the hottest in the UFC stuff. I'm just doing, kind of the kickboxing, K1, Glory, that sort of stuff, plus some boxing, some professional boxing as well. Open to any offers with serious dollars attached. And I have a current passport, so get at me. Promoters, boxing or kickboxing. Back to that, Garmamie. Just make sure this isn't just an infomercial for how great Sandy is. I mean,
Hey man, no, I'm. This is a really interesting interview. I'm liking this. I'm going to challenge you now. I want you to tell us who you are, to summarize who Sandy is in 60 seconds. Okay. So when I say go, tell us, give us the elevator pitch. Tell us your.
Do you want a timer?
Sure. I got one on this, but sure, I'll use that.
Well, I just I like being challenged, and I used to teach, and I still teach speaking and all that kind of stuff. Actually, let's go countdown timer. 10 minutes. No, you said 60 seconds.
And you're gonna kind of summarize who you are, what you do, everything from the on the business side to the personal development side. I know it's all interconnected to the boxing side.
59 seconds. I'm an identical twin. My identical twin had cancer when he was 4 years old. It's the closest human bond you can have on the planet. I became the brave protector of him, and from that, after that, the brave protector of mankind. Someone had that on my religious studies when I was at St. Matt's High School, sent that to me. That's what Alexander stands for, my real name. From there, I learned that I care about people above all else, and I just want to make connections. I make connections. I talk to people, I network, and that sort of stuff. And I've mapped that onto my passions. I love business. Business is really what makes the world go round. This timer is going to go off for 26 seconds. That's it. I make connections. I bring people together, and I do it dramatically well on social media. And the way I say that is I create like a little campfire on LinkedIn, a little one on Twitter, a little campfire on Facebook, and a little campfire wherever you need that to be, on your website or face-to-face, because you got to link these things. You know, you got to have something on your business card. I got to shake your hand, look you in the eye like a man, Garmamie, and say, hey, how you doing? Hey, follow my stuff on Twitter. Hey, I got to retweet your stuff before I even reach out to you. I think that's how we met this time. Like, hey, I tagged you in something because we did a little project with Lewis Hill together one time. Lewis Hill, fantastic filmmaker, and he's for hire. Anyway, so I make those little fires all over the social media platforms, little campfires. And in real life, we have conversations like this, make these little fires, and then I connect them. So if you make little campfires and you build those into maybe a house fire, and then you connect them, you cross-pollinate between Twitter, between Facebook, between face-to-face, between LinkedIn, those little fires become house fires, become block fires, become city fires, become continent fires, and worldwide fire, if done right. You put them all together, and we bring attention to your business, and we bring attention to you, and the attention brings money, and the attention brings what we're all looking for in the business world, success.
We're going to move on to a game where I give you one word, and you give me whatever comes to your mind, just one word back, okay?
A one word back?
Yes. Okay. And we might have a discussion as to the word afterwards. So the first, these are two words, but you can only give me one word in response. Okay, please.
This is your game. I guess your rules.
Victory and defeat.
Excellence.
Why excellence?
That's my pursuit. That Aristotle quote, excellence. I'm going to bastardize it. I can't do it if it's not in front of me. Excellence is not. Excellence is a habit. It's doing what we repeatedly do. And that's my biggest challenge. I'm so good at a project and fire, all hands on deck and doing that. But then there's a lull after that project. And until the next project's there, I'm not Sandy anymore. I go into a lull between projects. Yeah.
Entrepreneurship.
Hustle hard, rise and grind, follow the passion if you're not doing something you love. I mean, there's people out there.
One word.
Oh, shit.
It's all good. Entrepreneurship, just one word. One word that surmises it, that what comes to your mind, Sandy, when you hear
Passion.
Okay. Offensive lineman.
Brutal. Yeah.
Hustle. Elaborate.
I tell people that boxing and kickboxing professionally are my retirement sports. Football's a rough sport. It's a grind, and if you're playing at the higher levels, you're competing for position all the time with your teammates, and there's lots and lots of if you've got a bad leader, there's lots of, and even if you don't, there's lots of tension. There's the big fat offensive linemen that are strong and kind of sumo wrestler really is their job. And then there's the defensive linemen that are slightly more athletic and still some big guys. And then there's what the coaches call the skill positions, and the guys that catch the ball, the guys that throw the ball, the guys that get the press and the fame. So, and there's lots of competition within those positions and against those positions because the quarterback's got to throw to a receiver. The offensive lineman's got to stop the defensive lineman from getting at the quarterback so he can't throw that ball. And there's lots of concussions and there's lots of injuries, and it's a violent sport. They are true modern day gladiators, team gladiators.
Next word is mental well-being.
You gotta love yourself. Back to one word.
Yeah,
back
one word. And then we can just
mental well-being. I'll hyphenate. Love yourself.
St. Francis Xavier.
Destiny.
Please elaborate. And one thing I noticed, and I've met people from SFX. I've had teachers. One teacher I remember in particular in high school who was a religion teacher who was from SFX. Bellefeuille, last name. He's.
Remember the first name?
It was Mr. Bellefeuille. Back in the day, they didn't tell us their first name. But the thing is, he. All this to say, it's funny because I've never met anyone from SFX who didn't have pride for the institution. And you had mentioned before that it's like the Harvard of Canada. Yeah. So St. Francis Xavier, elaborate as to why.
I came into it from a family. So
Tradition.
I had no choice. Both my parents went there. They met there. Mm-hmm. My dad is from that town. My grandmother just passed away this fall.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. But she had a good life. She was in her 90s, and I stayed with her when I went to college or I say college now because I'm spending a lot of time in back and forth to the States, but a university. And I stayed with her. It was an amazing experience. It was challenging, but amazing as well. You want to be a young guy at college, and you want to meet some ladies and stuff. Grandma doesn't like you taking them home, so sorry, Gram. And she hated sleeping alone, like sleeping in her house alone. She was afraid to do that, so I had to be home every night. And some nights I messed up. Sorry, Gram. I did my best. So St. Francis Xavier, so my uncles went there. I have a late uncle, I have a current uncle, extended family. Everybody went. So I grew up looking at that X-ring. I remember driving home. You get your X-ring on December 3rd in the Feast of St. Francis Xavier. It's a Catholic school, but you don't have to do Catholic stuff there. I certainly did not. I didn't take studies or anything religious, But you get your X-ring the year you're graduating, assuming that you're on par to graduate. If your X number of credits behind, you don't get it. So you get it and you wear it backwards with the year that you graduate facing towards you. So the 1999 faces me, and then at graduation you spin it around. And then we shake hands, Garmamie, and you can tell that we're from X, but we can also tell what year we graduated. Oh, so you're from my dad's era. Oh, you're from my uncle's era. So it was an amazing coup of organic marketing. It was a project, I think, that X-Ring in the 60s, and apologies to my alma mater for not knowing all this. It might have been sooner. The university had been a long time. I think it was a Jesuit school originally, and it was, they do a lot of great stuff. There's the Cody Institute, which has, it's an outreach arm, and they bring people from around the world, a lot from Africa and that sort of stuff, to just do sort of international development work for, sort of needy civilizations, needy countries and that sort of stuff. And again, I don't talk about this stuff properly or use the right terminology, but they do good stuff for people around the world, and they do economic development and personal development, that sort of stuff. And then you see, these group of amazing, I don't know if they are immigrants or just there on a student visa, but they come from all over the world, and you see them like wearing the stuff that they wear, walking around campus, and the campus does a good job of blending those people in and making connections. So that's and that was Father Moses Cody that started that, the Cody Institute. Yeah, okay. So anyway, I should have taken some notes, but this is just all top of the head. So it's just amazing. University does this amazing sort of outreach to communities locally and business development sort of stuff, and helping in an economically depressed province, Nova Scotia, one of our have-not provinces, with all due respect to my Nova Scotia family and my upbringing. Just they do a lot of great outreach and that sort of stuff. Small class sizes, very, very intimate undergraduate experience. It's there's nothing like it on the planet. Send your kids there. I don't get anything for it. I just get a bigger Xaverian family. And that's
Do you go back and visit?
as much as I possibly can.
Really, yeah?
When I first left in '98, I went back 3 to 5 times a year.
Okay.
When I was doing my PhD studies in Australia, got back less and less. And then, as Graham kind of had to leave her house and go to a home about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, there wasn't as much of a place to stay or like a reason, So, yeah, it was sad. But anyway, I will do everything I can to help that university. And
So you're active in the alumni and whatnot.
you know what? I'm very close and in touch with a lot of friends from that, and I support it that way, and I support it online, and I tweet at them and that. Not as much as I should, but I give them some props, and we'll definitely be taking the speaking tour to St. FX. There's no question. So,
Going back to your social media professional, communicator, marketer, so on. So I just have a few questions to ask you in regards to trends in this year, 2016, in the social media realm. I'm basically going to throw out some.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
You're going to get me to give you the whole consulting playbook live on air here?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it. Always be giving. # always be giving. # ABG.
So one of the trends people, your fellow comrades and professionals are predicting for this year, 2016, is live streaming online. What are your thoughts on live streaming on social media, Facebook, and so on?
I think it's brilliant. So if it's done right, I've watched some conferences on social media live streaming. Of course, I've watched some other business stuff, just general business or general marketing stuff. My girlfriend loves these Real Housewives shows, Real Housewives of DC, Real Housewives of the OC. They're terrible. I mean, the people may be good, but the show is making them look like terrible people, lots of money, socialites, that kind of stuff. Anyway, so I periscoped a live stream of I was in DC recently. That's where the girlfriend lives. And I got invited to the Real Housewives of DC showing party. So they're all there at a big table, and there's big screens all around the TV.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to forget his name. But anyway, the husband, Michael Darby, I think, is a real successful businessman, and he's from Australia, and he's married to one of the Real Housewives of DC, who used to be a Miss something, Miss America or Miss Alabama or whatever, and she's very pretty. And then there's a bunch of other girls on the show, and they were all there. So Michael Darby owns a restaurant called Oz, and it's apparently the first Australian restaurant, OZ, in DC. So we went there for that opening. I knew a bunch of people through a group called Clicked that I'm with. Capitals, Clicked, CLICKED. Great group of people, sort of aspirational, sort of networking, sort of, all this same sort of stuff that I'm into, right? Like just really good people. It's not a networking group. It's not like, hey, let's just do business with each other. We hang out together. We like matchmake each other.
Because you click, right?
Exactly. We click. It clicked. Hashtag that clicked life. Anyway, you'll see it. Hashtags work on Facebook, people. Just, if you see a hashtag, click on it. You'll see every single person that's posted about that clicked life. And, it's a good-looking group of people. You might want to join. DC, LA, New York, and Chicago, I think. Anyway, I used to do some marketing for them. Now I'm just a happy member, and obviously I do, like for St. FX, I do some marketing for them. Just draw some candle to the light. Draw some light to the candle that's already burning.
What is the state of Twitter? Is Google going to acquire Twitter? What's the state of Twitter right now?
Oh, that's a hot topic, sir. Oh, we're going to have to spend a lot more time tweeting at each other. I'm so mad right now at all this BS about Twitter's dying and Twitter's dead, and they've only got, 300,000 or 400,000 active users or something. Sure. Bullshit. Twitter is an amazing platform. And is there rumors that Google's going to buy them, or is that just a Garmamie inside thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I read some stuff online here and there, but I'm asking you as someone who's actively tweeting.
I know one of their founders, Jack, what's his name? Jack Dempsey, Jack Conroy, something. Anyway, a good friend of mine, Bart Melendez, a marketer that was with eBay, and he's from Canada, but he's gone out there, and he's
brain drain.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You got me. So Bart's down there in SoCo or Southern California, and I got to get out there in the next few months to see him. And he's with Square. It's that that mobile payment card thing. And now they've got POS systems and everything. Anyway, the founder of that company is one of the founders of Twitter, and I don't know how long ago he left. But anyway, so neat stuff going on down there. I think Twitter is still an incredibly powerful tool, one-to-one. If you're famous at Garmamie Sidhu and I hadn't met you before, I could at you and reach out to you. And if I did it in the right way or often enough or nicely enough, you or your PR people might tweet at me, and the same to me. You can reach me at Sandy Pemrboke on Twitter anytime. And put the period in front of it first, okay? If you go at the person, that's the only person that sees it. If you put the period or anything in front of the name, hi at Sandy Pemrboke, then everybody sees that tweet. So do that.
If you add the period,
there has to be some. If the at symbol's the beginning of the tweet, it goes directly to that person only. If you have something before it, so real stylized, smart Twitter people will have period at Garmamie Sidhu. What is your Twitter handle,
It's
sir?
just at Garmamie.
At Garmamie, Garmamie.
You got it. Next question, video innovations on social media. We're talking virtual reality. Can you speak on that?
I think it's neat, and I think it's cutting edge, and I think it's like hybrid cars 10 years ago. I don't think everybody's going to have access to much virtual reality stuff. Maybe the big guys like Coke or Nike or
Big brands.
Big brands. Yeah, they'll be in there and they'll be doing some stuff. But the little guys, I don't think. Video is king this year. Get on video. Like you asked that right thing with streaming. Get on video and get on a video streaming service, or have some type of program or application where you can also repurpose those videos and show them over and over and over on Twitter. And, not in a spammy way, but, anyway, follow my stuff. There's lots of good advice on the Facebook page or Twitter.
On that point, another trend that they're forecasting is the rise of affiliate/performance-based social marketing. So big brands are looking to work closely with social media influencers to push, and because they're looking at performance-based, building better relationships with end users and potential customers. Speak on that.
Well, the influencer marketing was really popular last year and will be this, so let's attach ourselves to the social media of a brand, and that could be Pew Pew Die on YouTube or at Jenna Marbles on YouTube. I don't know if you know these guys, but they're, I think Pew Pew Die is number 1. Jenna Marbles is top 5. Should just click on Jenna Marbles. She's good times. I know there's a girl that I've featured on my Facebook page. From Australia. She was a former model. Oh my God, I got to shout her out because she's fantastic. And she had a real similar journey to me. I had lots of health and weight and issues because I played a weight sport, and she was going to her. Eden Macney, Eden with a Y, Edyn, and Macney, Mackney, Eden Macney. Let's see what Google says. Check her out. She's got a real interesting story, and you follow her on Instagram. Her Instagram account's probably one of the top ones I interact with. As far not that I interact with it that much, she just does a great thing, and she gave me a tip. I said, Eden, what's the tip to Instagram? She goes, Sandy, every day put one really good picture up. Every day, one good picture. Eden Macney. Oh, I think it's listening to my whole thing. I do a lot of this. Eden Macney, Instagram. Eden Macney, Instagram. Yeah, well, we got it. Enough of that. Back to you, sir.
So you're a social media professional, marketer, so on, and you're also involved as a competitor in the sport of boxing and kickboxing. Do your clients ever say, Sandy, why are you involved in these combat sports? Or do you ever get challenged? Not challenged where a client wants to call you out, but almost like, why? What's the connection, in your opinion, between combat sports and your other passion, which is communicating and marketing and entrepreneurship?
The connection, I think, well, at the base connection, it's just a passion. I found something I was good at. I kind of hacked around at a bunch of other sports and didn't find that one competitively until later in life. I was after college when I got into that. 27, I think, was my first fight. It's just about excellence. It's about what we said, the Aristotle quote, you are what you repeatedly do. I test myself every single day. I go into the gym and I have a bad sparring session, and I need to look at myself in the mirror and ask myself, okay, are you done? Is your career over? Or did you just have a bad day? Did you stay up late last night? Did you eat bad? Did you drink alcohol this week? It's just all about self-betterment, and I love it. It drives me, and we're animals, right? Dana White's my favorite CEO in the world.
Really?
Yeah, he's authentic, right? He's tell it like it is. He's just, this is what's going on all the time, and he says it's in our DNA. Fighting is in our DNA. And listen, at Dana White, tweet me back, man. You tweet back all these guys, and you give them all kinds of press when they trash talk. Yeah, I'm a nice guy. I tweet nice stuff at you. Just tweet me back once, man. Just tweet me back once.
Sandy, have you ever been offered any mixed martial arts fights?
Yes.
You have. May I ask why you haven't pursued? Have you ever fought MMA?
No, absolutely not. And I'm not gonna. I'm 43, and I made a decision. So technically and situational, but like kinesthetic awareness, knowing where my body was in space, these were never natural gifts. It's things I've had to learn as an adult and that sort of stuff. Ask my first coach, John McMahon. Look at him. He's Athletic Mindworks on Facebook. If you're trying to get a hold of him, he's got some bunch of free videos. Just watch them. Anyway, John McMahon. I owe this guy the world because he just took me like a molded fat piece of clay and just turned me into a killer and helped me launch me towards my world titles. And then he passed me off without ego to Mizamil Nawaz, who you can find him on Facebook as well. Mizamil Nawaz, who is the head coach and still is the head coach of the Canadian national amateur kickboxing team, and then he has a bit of a pro-am development team as well. Just amazing people, but kinesthetic awareness was not it. I was a blunt object. I could go forward, I could absorb punishment, and I didn't care about getting hit. Hitting was love. I grew up, Twin and I, hitting the shit out of each other growing up, like bashing each other's head into the ground. We found out, I think Dad was pretty good authoritarian, disciplinarian, and I think we punched each other in the face a couple times when we were kids and got bloody noses, and like early age, 2 or 3, and learned that we weren't allowed to do that anymore. So we finished every single fight in the full mount on a concrete, unfinished basement floor, which was always our playroom in whatever house we were renting and later buying as the family got some money. And yeah, just sitting on my twin, and he was sitting on my chest, or I was sitting on his chest, and grab him. So full mount, so you're sitting on his chest above his waist, got your hands on both of his ears, and you just bash his head into the back of his head into that cement until we decided that was enough. And that's how all of our fights ended, from 4 till about 15.
Wow.
Or 2 till about 15.
That's awesome that you had someone to fight with and train with at a young age. So you're actively looking for fights, yes?
Yes, absolutely. So kickboxing or boxing, and it looks like we're on a world title run, supporting a charity in the Sudan, Puro Okelo. Oh, it's just
Okello Bob.
Thank you. You want to spell that for me?
Okello. Bob is OBOB.
Garmamie's done his research. So he's offered me a world title shot in the Sudan, or if not, Kenya, or another neighboring country, depending on the political unrest going on in and around those areas. And so we're largely trying to raise awareness for his campaigns and his plights, because he's a real neat guy that spent a lot of time in Canada. He goes back and forth from 2 places, raising money and funds and attention to fight the tribalism in Sudan, which I'm recently realizing a very tribal community, and then they fight amongst themselves all the time, tribe against tribe. So his hashtag is just capital We, hashtag WE, and hashtag one, and something else about the Sudan, but too many hashtags, but catch up, people. Find me on one of those social media platforms, Sandy Pemrboke or Sandy Beach Marketing.
You're currently on a world tour. Speak to us about the world tour. Why you're doing the world tours? I'm stumbling over words here. And yes, and tell us who the special. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess you and I discussed beforehand. I was getting close to announcing, so we're going to announce it tonight live on the podcast. Who our first signed and on contract UFC fighter is, who I'm managing, and who will also be accompanying me on this world tour. Well, let's start it out. It's Mitch Clark, MMA. So if you look at Mitch Clark MMA on Twitter, you'll see he is featured every single week on the UFC's Tweets of the Week on the front page of UFC.com. He is a brilliant satirist, but he is too far, let's use a Spirit of the West song. I'm far too Canadian. Mitch Clark is too humble, too nice, and he's too funny. He's definitely going into stand-up comedy when he's done fighting. He owns a gym in Edmonton, and we'll pay respect to that later. But Mitch Clark MMA on Twitter. Tweet at him, get at him. Just go to UFC.com, click on Tweets of the Week. Every week. Sometimes they call the section The Mind of Mitch, but he's a very not well-known fighter. They were putting a ton of money behind Al Iaquinta. Mitch tapped him out because his jiu-jitsu is strong. Strong jiu-jitsu, Mitch. And then he just lost a fight. His last fight was to Michael Chiesa from The Ultimate Fighter, the long-haired, really nice, tall, lean guy. And they had a war down in the DMV. Shout out DMV, District, Maryland, and Virginia, just outside of D.C. And anyway, it was just an epic war and a great fight. Mitch came up short on the cards, but he went the distance. And the guy has been near and dear to my heart. I've been watching his career all along. Turns out he was watching mine, saw a couple of my fights back in the day, and he never even told me that until this week on the phone. We already signed papers. I'm managing him, and he never even told me that he used to watch me fight. He plays his cards way, way too close to the vest. He's the opposite of Conor McGregor. We're going to rebrand him as Mitch Clark McGregor, okay? We're going to get this guy out here, and that's what I'm here for because I'm the marketer. I don't toot my own horn on the fight stuff too well, but I can toot his real well. So welcome to the team, Mitch Clark. We are going on a world tour, and we're going to talk about some good stuff. One of the things is Mitch Clark has had some problems with depression, and he admits it, and he talks about it, and he's this shy, introverted guy that doesn't want press, but he's willing to go out there to the world and talk about depression. You know, hashtag Bell, let's talk, right? Or let's talk.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Like, what an amazing leader. I think he just turned 30 years old, and the vision and the respect he has for the world and people around him. It's why he doesn't want to be the big trash-talking guy. So I'm going to trash talk for him. This guy's a killer, and he's on our team, and we're going on a world tour. But we're going to talk about, hey, I think Mitch spent some time living in his car, living on the street, getting ready to try and train and make the UFC. He's a smart guy. He's got a college degree. He's brilliant. Read his tweets. You'll see. This guy's like Rain Man smart. And, but he can't toot his own horn. He can't beat his own chest. I think I'm paying my company to make him a highlight video because he hasn't even asked. The UFC hasn't even sent him a highlight video of his stuff. Right. You know, like it's a big organization. I love the UFC, but you know, like any business, you know, wherever the weeds are, the money's popping up, you keep watering it. You know, Conor McGregor and the champions and Ronda Rousey and stuff. They need Mitch just needs somebody like us to get behind him and put him on the map as far as the world goes. So we're going on a world tour. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about depression. We're going to talk about mental illness. We're going to talk about talking about these things. We're going to talk about the lows and highs that come with fighting and being up on stage, on the world stage, and pay-per-view, and the world's looking at you and worshiping you. Mitch and I have both been there. We've been in some great exposure, and you know, we've both shied away from it and wanted it at the same time. We're going to talk about those highs and lows of life. We're doing corporate speaking tours, and here's what it is. It's a 3-for-1 deal. If you hire us to come and speak and rah your troops and give you some professional speaking stuff, some world-class professional speaking, for sure you get Mitch, for sure you get I, and if you like, we have 2 or 3 other UFC guys that we will not announce tonight. Garmamie, you got one. You're the first press to get it out of me. You got the one, and maybe the next podcast will announce the next guy. Anyway, long story short, you get the 2 of us, we come in, and once we're done doing your speaking engagement, we give back to you twofold. You pick your charity. We will do a professional speaking tour with Mitch, the UFC guy, and Sandy, the Professor Pemrboke, with a whole ton of business experience married together with his fight experience and his 2 world titles in kickboxing, and then his really, really lackluster pro boxing career to this point. So up and down, back and forth. 2 guys, a younger guy, 29, 30-year-old Mitch, and an older guy, 43-year-old Sandy Pemrboke, talking about life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. We call it the Speaking, Sparring, and Charity Tour. So we will speak, and then we'll speak at your charity, and then we'll also do a autograph. Obviously we can do autographs and you know, sort of handshake stuff at each one of these sessions, but we also want to do one at a gym where we go in and Mitch rolls with guys and we spar with guys and we teach them how to be respectful in the martial arts world.
Where are you guys, what cities are you planning to visit?
We have discussions right now with Adelaide, Australia, Ottawa, Ontario, of course, because this is kind of home. I've got some connections down in DC, Washington, DC. We've got our lead sponsor, which is All Growth UK, which is over a little bit north of London, I believe. Sorry, Peter Midlicott. I don't remember where you are on the map, but he's in the UK. It's All Growth UK. He's an arborer, and I may be misusing that word, but he sells plants, trees and plants and that sort of stuff to developers. So if you're building over in the UK, Peter Midlicott at All Growth. Check out All Growth on Facebook.
What's it like now? You're running. You're managing fighters. You're marketing and
Yes.
Speak on that, and also I have a follow up in regards to social media and combat sports.
Well, it's something that I always kind of thought I would want to do, but you either have to fake it till you make it, or do it until you do it, or just jump in with 2 feet. In this case, Mitch was the kind of guy I always thought, geez, he's just so humble, and people met this guy and knew this guy. He would take over the world. Like, he would be, the blue-collar kind of hero, like he'd be Rocky, and he is. You watch him fight. He's a son of a bitch. He just sticks and stays, and he gets injured so bad in these fights. He doesn't fight very often because he just sells his soul in there, but he's too quiet. Except for one time he came out of there and he was feeling it at the end of the fight, and he gets in the camera and he's like, "Don't sleep on me!" Oh, man, and we're going to use that in the campaign. Oh, yeah, I can't wait to get my hands into this. So we've launched him. We've announced him now. Hey, listen, Wayne at First Dibs Multimedia in Calgary, and my other wonderful part of my team, Andy Juby at First Dibs UK. We're going to be busy. You'll get a little heads up before this podcast come out, and then when you're listening to this, start pumping it. We're doing it.
How has social media changed, in your opinion, combat sports, particularly mixed martial arts and kickboxing and boxing?
Well, I think what the UFC did, even before social media, it was like 2005, 2006, when the Griffin Bonner fight. So Forrest Griffin, who I didn't like and then became a huge fan of before this fight, and then Stephan Bonner, because Griffin is me. He's just got this work ethic, and he didn't seem that talented in the beginning, but he'll go down and do like 5 hours of charity work and then go to the gym. Back when he was fighting in the UFC, and the press would try and follow him, and he would do the charity work, then leave a handful of cash, and then he'd go train again. Like, he's just an amazing guy. I haven't met him yet, and I'm gonna. But I'll get out to Vegas and just give him some money to give to whatever charities he wants, because whatever he's doing, it's great. But he fought, and if you look back in the stats and the ratings, UFC was losing millions of dollars. They actually paid to have their Ultimate Fighting Championships on Spike TV, and that relationship drove them. But the reason it launched so successfully is because the power of the fight between Bonner and Griffin, Forrest Griffin, Stephan Bonner, it was like in the old days, Hagler-Hearns, that 3-round war in boxing. Hagler-Hearns, Marvelous Marvin Hagler versus Thomas the Hitman Hearns. You watch the lead up, the hype to that fight, you watch them fight, and you will see two warriors just trying to die on their shield. And the same thing happened with Stephan Bonner and Forrest Griffin, and the pay-per-view numbers were spiking so huge. They were just going, and people kept turning to the channel because people were calling their friends up, texting their friends, and maybe a little bit of social media for really early adopters on certain channels. MySpace back then. Right. Go look at this stuff. So that's when the UFC launched and just became. That's when they hit it. That's when they started just signing deals and closing deals, and Harley Davidson and big money. They sold a piece off, and I don't know where this went. They sold a piece off like 9 or 10% to like the UAE, United Arab Emirates. A few years later, they had Anderson Silva, so many superstars. Chuck Liddell launched them. But anyway, it was great. And your question was, if you just want to redirect.
Yeah, sure. The question was, how has social media impacted and influenced mixed martial arts?
So the reason I wanted to use UFC is they started rewarding people. It's like any CEO. A CEO reads a book about, what color is the sky in your world, and all of a sudden now everybody's got to have this color template, added to their pedagogy of their learning and training and operating and positioning and stuff. So Dana White, for whatever reason, was one of the early adopters on Twitter, and he loved it. So he started bonusing his guys out for being good on Twitter. So you got paid for being good on Twitter as a UFC fighter. I was actually Mitch the other day, and he doesn't even know if they do that anymore, and they must not, because Mitch should be rich, and he wouldn't have hired me if they were, because he's a Twitter god. And I mean, I do this for a living, and I look up to this guy. He's a aspirational role model for me on Twitter. And now I get to be a part of it, right? So I get to take that greatness and proliferate it, start these little forest fires on Mitch's behalf all over the world and all over the planet. We're going to make Mitch really rich, and I think I'd take 10 or 20% of that, and, who who cares? It's just fun. It's passion. It's going to make money. It's going to be great. It's going to make money for this kid. He's a great guy. Him and my dad. Sorry, I met his dad through social media. Now we're good friends. He keeps inviting me to his house. I keep inviting him to my house. We're both too busy. It's just, his dad's really into his career, and we had a real heart-to-heart about my family. He doesn't like my career. They're not really sporting people, and they're worried about concussions and all that crap. But anyway, so
what do you tell your family, if you don't mind me asking? What do you tell them when
what do I tell them now?
You're a fighter. You're competing. You want to compete, so on. You've competed, so on and so forth. What do you tell them, and what's the dynamic like when you're?
Oh, we don't talk about it anymore. And everyone.
Do they come support you? Do they watch your fights?
No. They hate it, and they hate it, and we don't speak about it anymore. And
Okay.
I've told, and every once in a while they try to chastise me about it or bring it up. I'm like, listen, Mom and Dad, we've agreed not to speak about this, and if you bring it up, clearly it's a passion and an opinionated. I'm going to defend myself. So, in everyone's best interest, let's not talk about it.
What's your MBTI profile or whatever? Have you ever done the Myers-Briggs?
Yeah.
I should have seen the reaction on his face. Sorry.
You have good questions, Garmamie.
Oh man, you should get your own podcast, dude. I could see you podcasting. You know what I mean? Because you have a lot to say.
In the beginning, I'll just do yours. I'm pretty busy.
That's the plan.
And I like talking to you.
You should, yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Myers-Briggs type indicator test. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Myers-Briggs type indicator test because when I left Exxon, I got a package. They gave me $10,000, $20,000. Said, hey, do you want to, if you had enough of this place? Because we can send you off to do whatever you want. And I said, oh, yeah. Hoo-wah! I took it. And they also gave you like this soft landing thing. You went to this redefine yourself, culturally and figure out who you are as a business person, this kind of stuff. Big money. And they paid for all that for a bunch of months. And I looked at all these courses, and they were for like 65-year-old people, or 20, 55-year-old people trying to retrain into another career. So I went to one that was like how to be a consultant. I'm like, yeah, this would be a good course. And the guy's like, listen, don't ever drive a BMW to your clients. You just drive a Toyota Camry because it's basically the same car, but you don't look like a dick. I got a BMW now. But I can walk the walk and talk the talk. And at the higher levels, when you're starting to make real money, people like to see success. And that's one of the things with social media. I see a lot of guys and a lot of campaigns where people are just like showing like expensive cigars and nice cars and beautiful women and exotic locations and that sort of stuff. And well, look at me and do business with me or do business like me, and you'll be rich like me. And it's called aspirational stuff, and I get it. But if you look at my Instagram, there's pictures of me barbecuing on my deck at my cottage or my buddy's cottage, and I put the picture of the BMW in every once in a while just because I know it sells, but it's I was at a curling tournament all weekend, a charity curling tournament all day Saturday, and something else. I'm going to my brother who's a Shriner or a Mason, and he just won Shriner of the Year or something because he's so good at doing all this social media and event management stuff. And I'm finally at the point where I've offered him a job, but I told him that he'll be working with someone else on my team and not me because we cannot manage each other.
You're twins,
Oh my God! We'll have to do a whole another podcast. If you ask about twin stuff, like, oh, do you feel each other's pain? Yeah, of course I do. Do you believe that? Yes, of course you do. Everybody believes that, but that's a whole other world of stuff. But when we were 4 years old, screw it. You want the story?
Sure.
We were 4 years old, and I've been told this story because my great aunt, three of my four grandparents, my next door neighbor Lynn Mitchell, and I think Len Hanrahan were all there when my brother got medevaced from Sydney, Nova Scotia, air ambulance to Halifax, about 5-hour drive or 300-400 miles, 300 or 400 kilometers away. And when he was on the table, when they were doing emergency exploratory surgery, because they didn't know what was wrong with him, he was dying, they cut him, just open zipper from hip to right shoulder, so I think it's going that way. So diagonally across the body, ribs spread, and started emergency exploratory surgery. And it turns out he had a Wilms tumor, which is a big tumor in his kidney, and they took his kidney out, so he's got one kidney. But when he was on that table, I was 4 years old, and I have no recollection of this, but I've heard this story ad nauseum from many people that were there live, and then secondhand and thirdhand told to them that when he went under the knife at the exact time, I was on my bed in my bedroom grabbing my chest and begging people at 4 years old to please stop hurting me, please stop hurting me, please stop hurting me. And I was clawing at my chest and my stomach to try and affect whatever change I could. And it took 4 or 8 adults to hold me down.
Jesus.
Yeah. So is there a collective unconsciousness or that sort of stuff? And the world thinks, yeah, no, whatever. Well, that's weird. It's hippie shit. But I'll go watch the weird, scary movies at the theater and kind of feel and tingle it, or X-Files, The Truth Is Out There. But we all believe that twins feel shit, and we do. There's emotional stuff, there's physical stuff, and that sort of stuff. But, you grow away from that as you get skeptical as an adult. And, it's one of my goals in the next 10 years is to kind of retap that energy and kind of listen to my gut and feel things more. And I'm starting to get there. So,
Well, Sandy, it was very nice speaking with you. Can you give us your, I know you've been plugging your social media as you should, but give us your hashtag, your what is it called again?
I'll give it all to you. So Sandy Pemrboke, Sandy like the beach, and Pembroke, Pembroke, is me. That's me on LinkedIn, at Sandy Pemrboke or Pembroke on Twitter, and Sandy Beach Marketing HQ on Facebook. And Instagram, I'm at Marketing Consultant. So at Marketing Consultant. And at the end of the day, our hashtag is ABG, and we do both. Always be giving. Always be giving ABG. And I guess the hashtag for this world title, public or professional speaking, sparring and charity tour, is with Mitch Clark from the UFC, current active roster. He's from Saskatchewan, training in Edmonton, and he also trains with Ben Henderson down in the States there at whatever their club's called. Sorry, the clinic or something. Anyway, sorry, Mitch. Sorry, Benson. Benson, I don't know. Anyway, always be giving, and the tour is called hashtag Pembroke 3 for my third world title. And, now that we've launched Mitch, we'll probably have to have a few more hashtags more specific to Mitch, Mitch Danger Zone Clark. You can find him on SureDog.com, or you can find him anywhere online, but the most place and the best interesting, he's Mitch Clark MMA everywhere, Mitch Clark MMA on Facebook, and he's Mitch Clark MMA on Twitter. If you do nothing else, just go check him out. The guy is hilarious on Twitter, and he's on the UFC.com tweets of the week all the time. And he's so fun to watch fight. He sells his soul. It's a passion. Let's make this kid some money and get him to the top of the charts where he belongs.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Garmamie. I'm so glad for your time. This has been wonderful.
Thank you for listening to Conversations with Garmamie. For more information, visit garmamie.com. That's GARMAMIE.com.